when you're starting to build like your own side business and your own side money, like what's your goal? But when you think about your goal, you got to think about the vehicle that you're actually in to help you get to that goal, right? Like if I'm on a bike and I'm saying I need to get from Charlotte, North Carolina to Atlanta, a bike is going to take me longer and cost me more than probably just getting a car and driving, right? The whole point is that it costs you something. So let's talk about $5,000 a month. That's the goal. Let's use a vehicle of real estate to get to $5,000 a month. So our goal would be $5,000 a month, right? Now at $5,000 a month, that's pretty good. That's an extra side income, especially outside of your regular job. That is awesome. Now, let's say for simple math, you're gonna buy about 10 units, and that could be houses, townhomes, apartments, whatever the case may be, right? So 10 units of real estate, and let's say that's about $100,000 in debt, okay? So you got about $100,000 in debt, and let's say that times 10 units, each unit was basically $100,000. There you go. Yep, you see it. That's $1 million in debt, okay? Now, as this is debt, what I want us to think about, as I sit here and make sure I got my notes correct, I want you to think about, okay, let's break each unit down. So let's say every unit kicked you out $500, let's say a month, right? Which is pretty cool. $500 a month that you're getting from each particular unit, right? Now, when you do that, that would mean that you're gonna get about $5,000 in cash flow. That's pretty cool, right? So you've done it. $5,000, that's what you wanted. You got 10 units. Let's say each unit was $100,000. That's 10 different properties. That's $1 million in debt, but you're getting 500 from each. There's your $5,000 cash flow. Now, most people would say you need to put about 1% of that aside for maintenance, okay? So if I put 1% of that aside for maintenance, then that lets me know that if I'm looking at my 1 million in debt and that each one is $100,000, that tells me I need to take about 10K and set it to the side. All right. And that's just for stuff that happens, water pipe bursts and all those different things, right? Lawn maintenance. It's all the different maintenance that's got to be done. Now, when we look at this and we multiply that by 12, right? So we're going to take all of this and we're going to say this is going to be multiplied by 12. Let's go ahead and do the math on what we're doing. Stay with me because I'm about to make a point here. So 12 months out of the year, that means that's going to be 60,000, right? So there's your 60,000 minus, did I do that right? Okay, so this 60,000 is actually this number here, right? So 5,000, you got your 60,000 here. You got your 10,000 because that's your maintenance, right? So you want to do that. So that means you've got 50,000 in earnings. All right. Now that's pretty cool. But can we be honest? You're $1 million in debt to make your 50,000. My point is, it's a cool vehicle, and don't get me wrong, we invest in real estate. I think it's cool. But don't forget you're $1 million in debt in order to make that happen. So let's talk about now what happens when you start looking at, okay, well, I got that. So now what do I do? So now we understand this, right? We understand my goal. I just want a vehicle to pay me $5,000 a month on the side from my regular job. We use the vehicle of real estate, 10 units at $100,000. That's 10 different properties. That's $1 million in debt, but I've got $500 a month coming in from each unit. I have $5,000 cash flow per month. 1% for maintenance gives me $10,000. I do my math for the year. 5,000 is 60 minus my 10,000. I've got my $50,000. Now, here's the kicker. I want to show you from a real life example of a piece of property that we have, and then I want to contrast that number to what we have in another vehicle. Watch this. So one of our properties is 120,000, right? Now, the tenant pays $950, okay? The mortgage is $700. So that means we're walking out with $250. Now remember, don't forget 1% of that 250's got to come out for maintenance, all those different things, right? So there's still stuff that comes out of even at 250, but just for simple numbers, we're gonna leave it there, right? Now we got 120, 950 for the what the tenant pays. Mortgage is 700. We're walking away with 250. Now in one of my other vehicles, it is zero overhead, and we make about, let's call it $7,100. Okay, so $7,100. If I divided my 250 per that, right? So I take my 250 and I divided that number, that would give me about 28. Okay, so that's about 28. Now, if I took that 28 and I'm gonna grab my calculator here. Let's say I took that 28 because that means I need 28 units at $100,000 in order to be able to make that residual. How much debt does that mean I have to get in order to do that? Well, I'm going to take 28, multiply that by 120. Let's say each house was about 120,000. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to see this number. I literally would have to go into debt $3.36 million. Look at this guy. Look, $3.36 million to make $7,100 in residual income from the vehicle of real estate. Am I against real estate? No. What I am saying is there are other ways to earn additional income without all the overhead. You need to pay attention.